math is not my strong suit, so I had trouble figuring out the 9 figures yesterday briefly. But that is 9 figures. The difference between the what the Red Sox are offering and what Rafael Devers wants is that's 100. We're talking $100 million, correct?
We are talking $100+ million. That is correct.
$100+ million. And are there any specifics on, from your perspective, what you were able to learn about what the Red Sox offered? Is it $200 million? Is it $220? Like what? Any specifics there, or just they're $100 million apart?
I think the best way to characterize it is like this: the Red Sox are over $200 million, and Rafael Devers wants more than $300 million. And this thing is playing out, guys, in a very, very similar fashion to Mookie Betts, right? Mm-hmm. You have a young star who is excellent. Not just an excellent baseball player, but has like a carrying skill. With Mookie Betts, it was just his all-around game. He doesn't have the best power. He doesn't have the best speed. He may have the best outfield glove, but he's not the absolute best at anything. He's just great at everything, and that leads to an MVP caliber ball player. With Rafael Devers, you have a $300 million bat. Like, if we're just judging him on bat alone, he has a $300 million bat. The question that the Red Sox have to ask themselves, and the question that's going to determine whether he re-signs or signs up long-term to be a Boston Red Sox forever, potentially, is whether they believe his glove and a potential position change down the road changes the calculus on what they feel like he's worth. And it is, if he is a third baseman and an average third baseman, if he can get his glove to that point, then he's a $300 million player. If the glove doesn't improve and he needs to move over to first base, there's never been a $300 million first baseman, and the ones who have made large sums of money tend to have been really, really bad. So these are the questions that the Red Sox are asking themselves at this point as they weigh that versus signing Xander Bogaerts long term.
Jeff, when it comes to comparing Rafael Devers and Mookie Betts, a lot of people, when it came to Mookie and trying to figure that out, was that he just didn't want to be in Boston. He wanted to go out west no matter what. Do you get any sense that Rafael Devers wants to be in Boston, or that he wants to go elsewhere? Like, if they were able to get this deal done, would that be enough for him?
I don't think that was so. Let me say this, and I don't think this is necessarily a Boston thing. I don't think this is necessarily an East Coast thing. I think this is like a fan thing, where we've been conditioned to thinking. God bless you, my son just sneezed. Sorry. We've been conditioned into thinking that if somebody doesn't want to take the offers that are being made by the club for which we root, that means he doesn't want to be here, even if the offers stink, right? You see this a little bit in New York this week with Aaron Judge, and with Aaron Judge getting booed some. Aaron Judge was made what was a pretty reasonable offer by the Yankees, and he's choosing to go out and bet on himself and say, I think I'm going to stay healthy. I think I'm going to perform. And if I do both of those things, this offer from the Yankees is going to be dwarfed by someone else. I think Mookie Betts saw the offer that the Red Sox made, even though it was more money than any of us will see in our lives. He said, I think I can do better if I go out there. And guess what? He did. It's not that he disliked Boston. It's not that he didn't want to stick around in Boston, that he didn't want to stick around in Boston at a discount to what his value was. And I personally have trouble begrudging a player for that. Like, you can love a city, you can love an organization, you can love a fan base, but that's not mutually exclusive with getting paid what you should get paid. And that's the question that the Red Sox face right here, right? Are they going to pay players what they warrant being paid? Or are they going to try and still get them at under market because they feel like that is what they can do and that's what they have to do long term to succeed?
Jeff, I completely agree with you. It's about the money, or at least 95% of it is the money. And when you look at a guy like Devers, and you start to see what Major League Baseball, in my opinion, has become, aren't you really supposed to pay the guy for his bat anyways? And, if he happens to be a decent fielder, I mean, they paid Pujols a ton of money, which, obviously was 10 years ago. When you look at a first baseman, isn't it about you're paying Devers for what he can do at the plate, and that's why he's a $30+ million a year guy?
Yeah, I listen. I don't discount that Rafael Devers is a $30 million a year guy, especially when he's going to be hitting free agency at 27. Like he is going to be young out there on the market. I also think that if you look at Freddie Freeman's contract, 6 years, 162 million, a bunch of it deferred too. So the average annual value is actually even lower than that. You look at. I appreciate you bringing up Pujols, by the way. That was 10 years ago. It was $24 million a year, and it is a contract that the Los Angeles Angels decidedly wish they did not sign. And that's you pay guys for the bat, yes, but first basemen make less than third basemen, right? Like Nolan Arenado is he signed a $260 million extension. You just see more money being paid to guys who play skill positions. And sorry, no disrespect to all first basemen out there. First base is not a skill position. And if, listen, I think Devers' defense has gotten better. Still not elite, still not good, but I think he's made himself into a reasonable defender. If he were to somehow take that next step defensively this year, and look, I don't discount it considering the improvements he's made, all he's going to do is continue making himself money. If he can prove that he's sticking at third base, then the Sox have a decision on their hands because that contract will start with a 3 at that point, and if it's not from the Boston Red Sox, we saw what happened last time the Sox didn't want to start a contract with a 3. Mookie Betts went and found one somewhere else.
When it comes to a contract with a 3 and the reluctance on the Red Sox part to be near that, is that a length of contract thing, or is that more in your mind Chaim Bloom build from within philosophy thing?
I think both of those can exist at the same time, right? I just, for a team like the Boston Red Sox that does really well financially, that has really smart people running it, I just have a difficult time understanding why there's this barrier that's necessarily in place. And look, Chaim Bloom has done a really good job since coming to Boston. Their farm system when he got there, remember, was terrible. Like it was really bad, and that is what David Dombrowski does. He takes his farm systems and he leverages them to the hilt, and he gets the best major league players in town, and he tries to win championships. And it's not a sustainable thing long term, but it's something that ended up with a ring on the Red Sox fingers. I think what Chaim Bloom's trying to do is replicate what's happened in Tampa, what's happened with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and you go and look at the future commitments that the Red Sox have at this point, and it's next to nothing. Like if Xander Bogaerts opts out after this year, J.D. Martinez is a free agent. Nathan Eovaldi is a free agent. You look at the Red Sox payroll next year. It's like the commitments for next year are, I believe, around $60 million. Not even. And this is a team that can spend $230 before going into the luxury tax. So yes, there's room for $300 million players on the Boston Red Sox payroll. There is room, frankly, for Rafael Devers and Xander Bogaerts to be signed up long term. I just don't think after Trevor's story, especially, that that's something that's in the cards.
Last one from me. Any indication that you've heard with where Devers is, mentally? Is he Can they salvage it? Is he looking at
Oh
this?
yeah. Oh no. This is not a lost cause by it. I mean, where's he at mentally? He's OPSing 978, hit a tank. Like he looks pretty damn good. And I was asked this year for our gambling partners what would be a good pick, and I said Rafael Devers is MVP 25-1. I don't know what the numbers are these days, but I love him. I love the bat. I love the fact that last postseason his wrist wasn't right, and he was still out there every day. You saw some of those swings, especially in the division series he had, when he was just rolling over, and his wrist looked like it was cooked. And still, he was given a pitch belt high, and as long as it wasn't a high fastball, he was absolutely hammering it. He is an elite hitter, and man, I love watching him hit. Whether it's off the monster, whether it's yanking it down the line, or whether it's having the power to go dead center at Fenway, the guy does everything. And seeing someone like that in his prime, I get why Red Sox fans want him to stick around long term, because they should.
All right, Jeff. Thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.